Hi, it's Lee, and welcome to the Tech Economist. The more I think about this absolutely insane discrepancy between how much Ford lose per EV and how much Tesla make per EV, it's making me very bullish. It is setting all sorts of different paradigms for me. It's setting off all sorts of different paradigms for me. Obviously, the classic anecdote is Apple. How although Apple don't have the majority of global smartphone sales, they do have the majority of the profit. One company out of all the others and has the majority of the profit. This is impressive. One of the most expensive products people buy and replace often enough, a massive industry, and to take that much share of profit is impressive. And is this what we're going to see with Tesla? Many think so. This is not some new original idea, and there's plenty of reason to think it. If Ford are this much further behind than Tesla than we realized, $30,000 difference is the cost of their vehicle. Not only that, for the Mach-E, just one model, Ford only sold 40,000 of them. Tesla sold over 750,000 of Model Ys last year, 20 times as many. Now what happens if you like Ford and have less supply? Well, you can increase the price, of course. Ford had less supply than Tesla, so could increase their price relatively. Sure, demand for the Mach-E is much less than Tesla, but perhaps not 20 times less, implying that you may have to wait longer to get a Ford or pay a premium at the dealership still. But there's a difference having a long waiting list against a car that sells 20 times as many as you. Anyway, my point is that if the Mach-E wanted to actually compete, it would likely have to lower its prices significantly to get Tesla demand numbers. Lower prices than Tesla, obviously, which means they can't actually make more profit. Ford are aiming for 8% positive EBIT margins, up from negative 40%, and the largest part of achieving those savings was scaling, as economies of scale helps. But actually, if they are scaling, then they are increasing their supply and would thus have to increase demand. They would have to change the prices accordingly. So in other words, this 8% margin target of all cost-cutting techniques actually means at current prices with minimal units, there may be a 10% price drop required to scale up perhaps more. So back to Apple. Apple didn't get amazing margins by making the lower cost iPhone. Not that Apple even make their own phones, but they have a brand that people are willing to pay more for. The rest of the industry is very cutthroat. There are iPhones and everything else, all competing on price and features, whereas Apple is competing on lifestyle, emotion, and personality with its brand. Arguably, Tesla also has some of those Apple brand features that you're willing to pay more. I mean, forget even the brand, but even the Tesla operating system alone, just like Apple's, you want to stay with it. But the thing is, Tesla are not going for the premium brand. There are too many levels of premium brand in the audio industry. Tesla isn't requiring customers to pay a premium for their product. Not everyone can afford an electric car already, but just about anyone who wanted one could indeed afford an iPhone. At the same time, with Tesla at these lower price points, it doesn't make the brand look or feel cheaper either. So Tesla do not have the luxury of being a luxury brand and raising prices because of such a coveted brand that people identify with, as people can't simply find just another $10,000 or $20,000 more on a car, like they can find a few $100 extra for an iPhone. Therefore, Tesla need to make the affordable electric car. I feel Henry Ford with the Model T is far more an apt a product revolution, about doing everything you can to make a product more affordable to more people, yet using technology to keep the car current and up to date like an iPhone. Tesla is still an expensive product, but Elon looks at all the raw costs of the materials that go into the car. He knows the total cost of them at the element level, or probably even the amount required to invest in a mine to mine the element yourself. These are the core costs of a product, and Tesla is the manufacturing company with the largest valuation. They can afford and look at manufacturing how no one else has before. Elon knows the total cost of all these products at the element level is something like $5,000 to $10,000. That's my guess, but whatever it is, the point is that Elon knows a Model 3 contains this many dollars of elements in them. Tesla's job is to work out the best way to get all those elements together in a way that makes a Model 3, and work out where the largest costs are, then work out how they can use less of that element or a lower cost alternative, or if they can't, then how they can source more. Do they need to get into mining and refining, and with such large budgets, improve the mining and refining processes? Of course, it's not just the budgets that Tesla have, but the massive amount of talent too. But now, Ford have shown their cards, and we've seen how far ahead of the race Tesla is for the race of the affordable car. Ford is a great vehicle manufacturer. They have a lot of experience and history, lots of experience, capital and resources at their disposal, yet they can't come close to Tesla's cost of production. And in all fairness, I'm comparing where Tesla are at with their current run rates. Ford were only $18,000 behind when Tesla had similar run rates. So by the time Ford hit 2 million, perhaps their costs will be down. But not as much profit as Tesla make, and that would require Ford selling at current prices. Of course, by that stage, Tesla would have worked out their next lower cost technique of electric cars and be even further ahead of Ford again. But it doesn't matter who had what profit at what run rate. It matters what the profit you have actually managed to reach now, or how low is your cost of production per vehicle. How much closer are you to striking a diamond mine as you get lower costs and attract a broader market whilst also building factories? Sure, it's likely that all EV manufacturers will no doubt be able to get costs down over time, but time is certainly something it's taking. Tesla made it look easy, as they did so much so quickly, but it's probably going to take legacy autos at least the rest of the decade to catch up to probably about where Tesla's costs were around 2017. We don't know what Ford's actual gross margin on the Mach-E is, unfortunately, as that would have given us a lot of useful information. But anyway, I think we know for sure that Tesla will continue to be able to outcompete everyone on price and still do it making a high profit. And no one else is going to be able to get close to Tesla's costs and thus can't compete with price. Then obviously the Gen 3 manufacturing absolutely destroys even the current Tesla on costs. So when you compare it to Legacy's costs, it's just not even close. Sure, we do have BYD that sell vehicles for lower price points, but they aren't high quality cars. A Mach-E is a much nicer car to drive and feels more solid. I'm not sure as the level of BYD are planning on scaling up their batteries, but Legacy Autos have been building some massive battery factories, with all starting to come online from next year. This has been their hold-up, and will mean that they have a much more abundant supply of batteries and at a lower cost. However, the next issue for Legacy Autos is EVs don't appear to be as profitable as they once were, when a Tesla Model Y was almost $70,000. Now, the EV price points are significantly lower. It's going to make it that much harder again for them all. The downside to that, though, is will Legacy Autos actually be able to make enough profitable EVs to actually have an impact on the mission? What if only Tesla are the ones able to make a $25,000 to $30,000 EV for the main markets? It doesn't sound like Tesla's 20 million vehicles a year target will be enough if the world is to transition to renewable. Perhaps Legacy Autos could get to about 10 million vehicles a year towards the end of the decade, then maybe another 10 million from the Chinese, possibly, and then we're halfway to the world transitioning for new auto sales. Of course, it all changes if some of Tesla's EVs can serve more than one customer at a time with robotaxis, which does sound quite essential to transitioning to all electric as soon as possible. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.